Well, here we are. Welcome to yet another episode of Better Habits. And today we're going to speak about something actually maybe a little bit different, but definitely related to habits. We're going to talk about coaching. And I want to start off with an interesting spark or something that triggered me yesterday again. Yet another person, my friend, posted on LinkedIn a question: why people around me pursuing a career of coaching, why not they become great leaders who build companies? And I want to first pose this question on you, Kendra, and then I will chip in with my own answer.
Yeah, I've got a whole lot of responses to that. I think I'll start with the skill and experience of coaching will probably be needed for them to be leaders. So even and I do agree with her that what one of the things this world needs most is more effective leaders making a positive impact. I absolutely agree with that. That's one of our core missions. Um, and I think the skill of coaching is essential to that in building out teams and empowering those teams and setting up and guiding those teams to success. I think the skill of coaching is fundamental to that. I think there's another thing that I would say even more importantly, and I think that coaching is a fabulous and. I think a lot of the best coaches are leading teams and coaching. We've seen it in our community. We've seen it, in ourselves. Um, there's something really powerful about committing to that coaching relationship, particularly to strangers. I'll say it's one thing to coach those you know. It's another thing to coach a stranger. That I think if you want to be sure you grow, be a coach. Um, and I guess the third thing I would say to that is not everybody has to be a life coach, right? You don't have to coach in this big picture thing. Our platform is focused on habit coaching, which you pick a very small area of life that you're fabulous at, and you help lots of people get better in that area. And so you don't have to feel like you've got your whole world figured out and you're ready to take on somebody else's whole world to be a coach. So I guess those are the three things that come to mind pretty quickly when you share that story.
I want to unpack first before I get into my own view on that last point that you mentioned, because I think this is a great point that I never thought about, because coaching could become your way to give. My clients, my coaching clients, they come to me because they kind of lost it. They've been doing great in terms of career, in terms of family, in terms of money, and they're like, well, how can I give back? And that point that you mentioned could be one of, easiest way how they can give back.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, that's the fundamental on which we're built. That a college student in Texas that's struggling to get organized could connect with a productivity coach in Israel, right? And learn from you at an accessible price point and build a relationship and tap into that knowledge and that passion. And we see that happening, all over the world in both directions, right? We have coaches, I want to say in something like 43 countries. It's up there. We have coaches in a lot of countries, and we have clients in probably equally as many countries. And so what again, like you said, what you're passionate about, what you're obsessed about, what you really believe is powerful, and I think for a lot of folks that quote unquote have it figured out, there's still an area that we struggle with, right? So, um, for me, for a long time, it's been doing well in the career and not sacrificing my health. I've I've started to figure that out a little bit better, but I've been working since 1996, and I maybe figured that out a few years ago. So there's a lot more years of not figuring that out than figuring it out. And one of the things that I find interesting is if I'm coaching, and I really haven't taken on any new clients since about 2017, but I have some tenured clients that are CEOs or entrepreneurs or COOs. And I find what we're often talking about is, again, how they balance their health and not sacrificing their health in how they lead their teams. So the same things that are our journey become the thing that we can coach others on, as well. And of course, it keeps me accountable, right? If I know that I'm going to have a phone call with so and so, and I've got two coming up on Wednesday, and they both know what I'm committing to. Uh, Oftentimes they're keeping up, right? They're looking. Am I walking the walk as well? With them. And so it's incredible accountability, positive accountability, I think, for me as the coach. So I do think it's a win-win all the way around. Now you've got to be thoughtful about it. You can't just jump in, but I think if folks will put some thought into it, I believe all of us need coaches and I believe all of us should be coaching. And I think the duality of that is just so powerful, that it's something we should all strive to have in our lives.
One of the points that I made that coaches, and I made a reference to the strategy consultants, like, because I think you could pose the similar questions, like, why do you become a strategy consultant where you could build a company? And I kind of outline, no, these guys figured out a lot of the frameworks because they get a broader view on the industry. They had experience, looking at the various companies, and they had the capacity and the resources to do the research and to come up with the solutions that then the companies and the leaders of those companies could use. I think coaches are the same. They can geek out and do the either the research or dig the research of the neuroscience, social science, behavioral science, and that's what we do, you and me and other coaches. We geek out on the particular habit that we're interested, and also we collect the experience over the years. You've coached thousands of clients. Becoming a coach in that particular area gives an opportunity us to become an expert, right?
And I think that's where we've seen for the last several years, my focus, I said I'm not coaching as much anymore. Well, what I am doing has been building the training programs that take somebody that's passionate about a topic and teach them how to coach it, right? And specifically how to coach it via our chat-based coaching, which again, if we're thinking about folks that are doing folks that have perhaps have a full-time job and even have a full-time family and their life is full. Believe it or not, set up correctly, coaching can fit around that. And as you said, be incredibly fulfilling, provide additional income in the beginning. It's not going to be life-changing amounts, but certainly, it helps and it can grow as you gain experience. And so that's absolutely what we're fired up about, is taking folks that are passionate about a topic, teaching them how to apply habit science, and how to pace and structure that coaching situation, and then look back and realize, wow, I changed somebody's life. That's a pretty powerful feeling when you get that feedback or see a testimonial. I remember I started with the habit of flossing and I started coaching flossing. I didn't really know where to begin. I didn't really think anybody was going to hire me to coach them on flossing, but there was at that time, it was kind of trendy. There was a wave of in the zeitgeist. There was a wave of information about flossing. So perhaps I kind of surfed that wave. But just like I felt, holy moly, I got this. You could see it in your clients when they realized. And then what quickly hits you is if you can get yourself to floss, you can get yourself to do anything. That's the bigger aha, and why we teach the keystone habits. Because really, once you learn to uh, program yourself, if you will, or figure out the sequence of applying habits that change your life, you can. At that point, it's just deciding. It's just deciding what you want and how fast you wanna do it.
One other point that I mentioned in my rant about that question was we have to look at what this professional career path offering you. Coaching, on a similar token, offers people variety, flexibility, income potential, and freedom. The question is, what is important to you as a person? Who are you? Are you more about flexibility or stability? We are very different people. You have to look at yourself. And for some people, coaching is really fits much more the personality type, the values.
I would take it a little bit further. I would say if you enjoy seeing others win, if you get as much pleasure from seeing others win as you do, or close to as much as you do from seeing yourself win, then I think coaching is for you. And then I think beyond that, to your point, the cool thing about coaching is if you want stability, okay, great. There's a way to design your coaching practice so that it focuses on stability, right? If you want flexibility, there's a way to design your coaching practice to maximize flexibility, right? We have several coaches that live in vans. I have for a while, there's certainly some overlap in that Venn diagram. But if you want ultimate flexibility, it works, right? If you want to Airbnb, every week or every month, coaching can work for that, and our training programs can teach you, how to do that. And the same way, if you've got, which I did for the years in which I heavily coached, I had a very demanding full-time job. I was general manager of a resort. And I coached in the early mornings, I coached a little bit at lunch, and I coached in the evenings, and it was super structured, right? There was very little flexibility in my day, but I it still worked. It gave me an additional stream of income. It helped me have a positive impact that I really enjoyed. It kept me accountable. And I think more than anything, it kept me growing, right? Um, if there's what is it? The only things that don't change or change itself, right? And so if there's anything the world has taught us is the rate of change has just picked up. And to coach, it really almost requires that in your area you keep up with that, and it's a fun way to do it. So it was a tremendous win-win at a critical point in my career, and seeing the impact it has stayed a primary goal for me. And I certainly encourage, you know, either other professionals that want to do it as the and, or somebody that says, you know what, I do want to maximize that flexibility and I'm going to go all in on this.
Yeah, there's this saying, at least I don't know, in Russia, that behind every successful man there is a woman. Well, I want to flip it and say, you know what, guys? Behind every successful leader, there is a coach. Now, it could be known to you or unknown because the leader could be vocal about it or not. Or it could be formal coach, like a business coach, executive coach he or she has, or it can be someone actually kind of on the background, taking that informal kind of coach role, but he or she is there for that leader. If we dig, enough, we'll
Sure.
find it. We'll find it.
I would say that behind, if we're really talking about the top leaders, they probably have dozens of coaches, right? Over the years, I was having lunch with a friend's mom yesterday that made it very senior in a very large organization in the United States. And once she got to a certain level, she and her husband both had to go to like an etiquette school to learn how to eat a formal dinner. That's a coach,
There you
right?
go.
Many of us, athletic, if we want to get stronger athletically, we use coaches for that. If we want to write a book, we'll use coaches for that. If we want to get better at marketing and keep up with all of our marketing tools, we use coaches for that. Yoga instructors, meditation instructors. I would submit to you that all of those, could fit into the category of coaches. And for us to have thriving, successful lives, we've got to tap into that experience. Yes, you can read books. Yes, you can take courses. But sometimes you just need somebody that's already done all that to distill it down for you. And so if we each coach in the area, if you're an expert on formal dining, well, you're going to save me a lot of time because I'm not, right? And I really don't want to absorb hours and hours of material to figure that out. I would love to sit down with you and have you, teach me that as a coach. And so I think if each of us will find our unique our unique understanding, like you said, it's the area we're passionate about usually. It's what we would do if we weren't getting paid. So if we find those areas that we're passionate about and then find a way to coach others in that, and obviously we think our platform facilitates a lot of that in really healthy ways, then we're getting to pour into folks that would otherwise not be able to access our skills, and we're ensuring that we're not going to get stuck and that we're going to continue to learn and grow as well.
I think it's important to realize that coaching is a skill. It's a number of techniques, it's a number of frameworks, it's a skill that you hone, and it's different from teaching. We do train people how to coach, and that's a skill in itself, and it's important that folks realize that knowing how to do something is a skill, but it's not enough. If you want to coach, then get coaching skill, in addition to be able to be successful in that area.
Great point. Great point. Yeah, I think to me the difference is when you're teaching, you deliver it the way you want to deliver it, and it's up to somebody else to digest it. To your point, coaching really looks at the client point of view. What is the pacing? What is the sequencing? What is that client experience? And we tailor how we guide them on their journey to the specific journey that we think they need from the feedback and interaction. And again, I'll give a few hints. The Keystone Habit, and we teach coaches to start with very small daily habits with clients, and then let that experience be our guide, right? So we try it, and then we conduct a little experiment every single day, and then we learn from that experiment and perhaps change the experiment slightly the next day. And that process can work powerfully well,
Yeah,
to your point. A little bit different than teaching.
exactly. And I think it's important to stress. I think people underestimate uh, that this is a specific skill and that is teachable or learnable, and this is something that they need to learn. And it's used because the word coach, I think, is used pretty loosely compared to some other kind of professions that's been established and certified or licensed and whatnot. But anyway, we're here to educate, to share this knowledge, and to teach you coaching. So, I would like to wrap up with you, Kendra, presenting, our signature coaching program, because I think, and I said it in our post, that it's one of the best. I discovered it, almost 2 years ago, and I still, when I found it, I believe it was the best, and I still believe it is the best habit coaching certification that's out there.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. I think the reason it works so well is because we built it from real experience with coaches, both learning from the coaches that were. So that the cool thing about using technology is you get lots of data, right? And you can figure out through the client feedback what's working and what's not. And then you can look at in the early days, the coaches that were having, the coaches whose clients were having success, and then, work backwards and then conduct lots of experiments in making that happen. And so our curriculum is designed from the ground up. It's not somebody's theory necessarily. It's a real practical application of taking what we learn in academics and plugging it into, here's the tactics that you can use to apply those. So certainly we're proud of it. We're proud of the outcomes. We've assembled that into a new first year program for folks that want to get started with coaching or reboot their coaching. But we've also got other coaching memberships for folks that are in stride and want to continue that and continue the education as well.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I guess that's it for today. And if you're interested, if you're hearing this and thinking, oh, there's something I'd like to learn more about, well, there will be links in the show notes to this podcast. So follow the links. You can sign up for the programs if you're ready to jump right in, or you can sign up to the newsletter, and we'll keep you updated and you start learning about us and about habit coach certification and our other programs that are going to be out there during the year.
Absolutely. Yeah, if you're ready to go for 2024, jump in with us. We're off to a fast start and have a crew of folks that are excited to do that. And if you're still pondering it, then absolutely connect with us and have time to think on it too.
Yeah. Oh, cool. That's it for today. Thank you. As always,
Thank you,
Kendra.
Leah.
Yeah.